So we know that 69% of problems in relationships are unsolvable. We also know that 100% of couples have conflict. So what's the difference between the couples that want to stay together forever but end up separating or divorcing? And what are the similarities with the couples who stay together happy ever after? The difference is that they fight fair. So this video is all about how to fight fair, because everybody is going to have conflict. You don't have a choice about that, but you do have a choice about how you engage about differences and what you do when things start to escalate. Okay. Everything that I'm going to be talking to you about today is based on John Gottman's research. So this is a science-backed webinar. Okay. And John Gottman is a research psychologist. He's famous for being able to predict divorce with 90% accuracy. And he is a relationship stability expert, which means he studies healthy relationships to see why couples stay together forever and always. He wanted to look at the positive aspects of what makes love last so that we can all emulate what's going to bring us long-term happiness. I had the honor and the privilege to work directly with John and Julie Gottman for many, many years. I've been training with them for over 20 years and I'm certified in their model. So I believe in the research. I'm grateful that they did this research so that we as couples therapists who are in the room every single day helping couples with these real world problems have a model that's based on actual data so that I can teach you how to fight fair and spend less time arguing and more time having fun and doing all the good things that go with being in a relationship. Okay, so real quick, here's what you're going to learn at the end of today's video, which I'm going to try to keep super short for you guys. Number one is how to argue without damaging your relationship. Number two is a 3-step process for de-escalating a fight. And number 3 is how to return and have a productive conversation afterwards. Okay, so the biggest question on the table for today that we're going to answer for you is how do arguments go from 0 to 100? Because nobody wakes up in the morning to say, today I want to fight. Today I really want to have a knockdown, drag out argument with my partner. That's how I want to spend my afternoon. No. Nobody wants to fight. The reason that people argue is because their needs aren't being met and they need an effective way to talk productively about differences of opinion. You have to have a mechanism in your relationship to be able to manage when one person feels one way, another person feels another way, somebody's feelings were hurt. You can't have a healthy relationship without having some way to do that. And so what we're going to be doing is walking you through a step-by-step time-tested method. Okay, so the reason that arguments go from 0 to 100 is because 3 things happen incredibly rapid succession. Okay, number 1 is that you have your amygdala. Your amygdala is a tiny part of your brain that has one job, and the only job of the amygdala is to scan for danger. That's what keeps us alive as a species, is that we're constantly, looking for threats. Okay. The problem with the amygdala is that sometimes it tells us that we're in danger when we actually are not. So your smoke detector is going to tell you when there's smoke, but you're the one that has to figure out, is the house on fire or did I leave the toaster on too long? Okay. Number 2 is that somebody feels attacked, which may not be their intention. It doesn't matter. You feel attacked partly because your amygdala might be telling you you're in danger. And then number 3 is that communication goes to pot. At that point, after number 1, you feel like you're in danger, you feel attacked, and you've lost access to your frontal cortex. Okay, so the thing that I want to remind you is that you probably have excellent communication skills. It's not that you don't know how to speak directly and clearly and respectfully and ask for what you want. The problem is that you're trying to do that when you're in a heightened state of physiological arousal. Then it doesn't work because you don't have access to everything that you know about how to speak about what you want in a calm, deliberate manner. Okay, so that's why conversations escalate so quickly. What I'm going to teach you is a strategy for how to de-escalate once that starts happening. You have to disconnect to reconnect. You have to do both of those things. You have to disconnect and you have to reconnect. What we know from the research is that there are 2 core conflict management preferences. When we feel unsafe, we either want to engage and connect with the person that we feel disconnected from. And the hope is that that we will get reassurance that we're not being abandoned. And then on the other hand, there's a safety that comes from disconnection and like, oh my gosh, I need to get away from this situation. I need to calm down. What's happening? And you're like a deer in headlights. Okay. There's benefits and risks for both of these kinds of conflict management. The risk of conflict avoidance is that you can shut down and disconnect from that other person, and then they feel lost and they feel abandoned because you stop engaging with them. There's a risk of resentment if you don't bring up differences of opinion, and the more that you're just like sitting on your anger, it gets bigger and bigger, and instead of a mild irritation, it becomes this huge thing. And then passive aggression is often a byproduct of conflict avoidance because that anger has to go somewhere. Okay. On the flip side, there is a risk to engaging in conflict, okay? Because sometimes if we talk when we're in a heightened state of physiological arousal, then we risk doing or saying something we regret. And sometimes hostility can rear its head, or aggression, just doing or saying things that we regret. And there's also benefits to each style, okay? So conflict avoidance allows both partners to be able to calm down and self-soothe, let their heart rate come down, let their breathing regulate. When you're taking a break, you can have the bird's eye view when you've taken a breather a little bit and you're now looking at it from the outside and it doesn't feel so dire. You get out of that fight or flight state as a result of disconnection. Okay. And the benefit of conflict engagement is that you have a repair, that you're able to apologize and understand your other person's perspective, which you can't do if you just completely avoid it. It's a way to integrate differences, because obviously conflict is about differences, and differences are wonderful. Differences are how we learn and grow, and we become better human beings by expanding our perspectives. Okay. And intimacy also comes from connection. So the challenge here is to think about, what do we do such that we are both connecting and disconnecting, and both people in the relationship feel safe in the midst of conflict? Okay. So in order to have effective conflict management, you need both. You need the disconnection so that everybody can be calm and relaxed and have the perspective taking so that you're not in fight or flight. The disconnection is the thing that is like, you come downstairs and you hear the fire alarm and you're like looking to see, do I see flames? Oh, no, it's just the toaster. Let me unplug it. Okay. And effective conflict management also needs re-engagement. If you don't have the re-engagement, if you just take the break and then let things slide, then you never come back and you never have that intimacy. You never get to understand your perspectives, and you're not going to feel heard or understood. Okay, so you absolutely need both. So how do we actually do that? It takes 20 minutes for cortisol and adrenaline to reabsorb into your body. So when you're in fight or flight, that's what's happening. Your amygdala is releasing a bunch of hormones. You need to take a 20-minute break, because if it's longer than that, then you're going to start to get distracted answering emails and you're kind of like avoiding the fight. If you go too quickly, then it's just going to re-escalate. Okay, so 20 minutes is your magic number. Now people say to me, Laura, I need longer than that. 20 minutes is not long enough. I'm not going to be ready. Or people say to me, Laura, I can't wait 20 minutes because I don't trust that it's ever going to happen. And if I believed that my partner was really going to talk to me, then I would give them the space, but it feels like now or never. So that urgency makes it really, really hard for me to give that 20-minute break. Okay. So here's what I want to teach you. You have to do both, and both of you have to agree to do both. Okay. Okay. So step one, take a time out. You need to commit to disconnect to reconnect. Okay. So once you take the time out, you understand that it's 20 minutes long. And what do you do during that 20-minute? You choose a pleasant activity that's going to occupy both your mind and body to distract you from the argument. Okay. You also remind yourself, I'm not in imminent danger. And it's going to take time. Obviously, you know that, but you don't know that Your body doesn't know it, even though your brain does. And so what a timeout does is it helps your mind, your frontal cortex slowly comes into awareness so that you can remind the rest of yourself, I'm not in danger. The other thing that's crucial for an effective timeout to work is that you're not sitting there planning your rebuttal or what you're going to say next during your timeout, because what's that going to do? It's going to escalate you. It's not going to de-escalate you. So you've got to focus on an external activity during that 20 minutes. Okay. I have a workbook. It's called Love is an Action Verb. I have a free chapter that I'm going to give to you. I'm going to put the link in the description. What that has is basically a timeout procedure and red flags for how to notice if you need to take a timeout and what you should do and not do during your timeout. So go ahead and click on the link below and you'll be able to get your copy. Okay. After you take the timeout, then you need to reconnect. So again, remember we talked about there's the person that wants to connect and the person that wants to disconnect. Sometimes you're both. Okay, so after you take your time out, it's time to reconnect. And when you reconnect, you do not have to talk about the thing, okay? You only have to decide when you are going to talk about the thing. That's why when people say 20 minutes isn't long enough or it's too long, what I say is it's irrelevant. That 20 minutes isn't about when you're ready to talk. It's about when you're ready to be calm enough only to do one task, which is to schedule the time that you're going to come back for your repair. Okay. You schedule your repair after that 20 minutes to make sure that you've got a time where you're both hydrated, well slept, there's no distractions in the room, and then you kind of put it on the calendar. We're 2 to 3 more times likely to follow through with something when things are scheduled. So that's why you want to make sure that you schedule the conversation. So then fast forward, whatever time then you guys scheduled it, and maybe it's basically you said, okay, we decided we're going to talk Sunday morning over a cup of coffee. When it's time to revisit the conflict, the idea is that both of you guys are feeling more relaxed, your cell phones are off, and you're in a much more conscious place in your brain to have a productive conversation. When you do reconnect, number one, you're going to remember that you're talking to somebody that you love. Number two, you're going to use Gottman's communication skills. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And number three, you're going to intentionally return to the conversation with loving kindness. Now it's time to have this conversation because our relationship is worth it. And we know that we need to have an effective way to manage differences. Okay, so what we just talked about is how to de-escalate a conversation so that you can fight fair. And what you can do next is take a look at my video on the attack, defend communication pattern so that when you are in that repair phase, you actually have the dialogue that you need to use those communication skills. Thanks so much for watching my video. Let me know in the comments what other kinds of videos you want me to make. I'll see you next time.